Hello, brother. I hope you're doing well, because you always stay on the side of good stories. I won't be able to reveal my identity, because I used to serve in a law enforcement unit in a small town in the United States. What I'm about to tell you is not just a story, it's something I experienced myself. And to this day, I still cannot explain it. At that time, I was stationed in a small county in Texas. The town was quiet, peaceful during the day. But at night, it felt completely different. One night, around 1:30 a.m., I had just finished my duty and was resting in my office. Suddenly, a knock on the door. "Sir, someone is here to see you." At that hour, it usually means one of two things. Either someone is in serious trouble, or someone has information. I said, "Send him in." A few moments later, the man walked in. At first, I didn't pay much attention, but when I looked up, something inside me shifted. The man looked strange. His skin was unnaturally dark. His eyes were deep but empty, like there was no life inside them. Still, I kept my composure. "What do you need?" I asked. He spoke slowly. "Sir, bodies are being stolen from our graveyard." I went silent for a moment. "How long has this been happening?" "About a month. No one has been able to catch them." "Do you have any suspects?" He shook his head. "No, but I know they will come again tonight." That caught my attention. "How are you so sure?" He stared straight into my eyes, then said, "I know if you come with me, I'll show you." I don't know why, but I agreed. Maybe it was duty, maybe curiosity, or maybe something else. I woke up my team. We were 8 officers, and that man. At 2:10 a.m. we left. The vehicle cut through the darkness. The road was empty, only distant dogs barking. After some time, we reached the graveyard. I've seen many graveyards in my life, but this one was different. Huge, surrounded by thick trees. Almost no moonlight could get in. We turned on our flashlights and moved forward. Then I noticed something strange. The man, he wasn't using any light, yet he was walking perfectly, as if he could see everything clearly. That made me uncomfortable, but I said nothing. After walking deeper, he suddenly stopped. "Here," he said. I checked my watch. 2:34 a.m. We were standing in front of a fresh grave. "Why this grave?" I asked. He slowly turned his head toward me. His eyes looked colder now. "Because this is where they will come tonight." His voice felt wrong. We took positions. Everyone hid around the area. I stayed behind a bush. Mosquitoes were biting me everywhere. But then I noticed something. Not a single mosquito touched him. Not even one. A chill ran down my spine. Time passed. 10 minutes. 20 minutes. Then, footsteps. 2 men, carrying a shovel and a flashlight. They walked toward the grave and started digging. I didn't wait. "Move," I shouted and rushed forward. My team followed. They tried to escape, but we caught one of them. The other disappeared into the darkness. But while chasing, I made a mistake. I stepped on an old grave, and the ground collapsed beneath me. I fell inside. There was a decomposed body. The smell was unbearable. I almost blacked out. My team pulled me out. After a few minutes, I regained control. Then I looked around and realized something was wrong. The man, the one who brought us here, was gone. No one saw him leave. He just vanished. We took the captured thief back to the station. During interrogation, what he said made my blood run cold. Sir, we steal bodies, but we never work alone. What do you mean? I asked. He trembled. Every time someone tells us which grave and when, my heart started pounding. What kind of person? He whispered. Dark, empty eyes. The file slipped from my hand. I couldn't sleep that night, no matter how hard I tried. That man's face kept coming back into my mind. Those empty eyes, that unnatural calm, and the thief's words. Every time someone tells us. Morning came, but it didn't feel like relief. I reviewed the case file again, over and over. Something didn't add up. That afternoon, I decided to visit the graveyard again. This time in daylight. I took 2 officers with me. The place looked completely different. Sunlight covered everything. Birds were chirping. It felt almost peaceful. But deep inside, I knew something was wrong. We walked toward the same grave, the one from last night. The soil was disturbed, clear signs of digging. But then, one of my officers called out, "Sir, you need to see this." I walked over. There was another grave just a few steps away. Old, broken, almost forgotten. And on the headstone, there was a name. I froze. The name matched the visitor, the same man who came to my office. I felt a cold wave run through my entire body. "Check the date," I said. My officer wiped the dirt and read it out loud. "Died 3 years ago." No one spoke. No one moved. Even the air felt heavier. I stepped back slowly. My mind was racing. If that man was dead, then who came to me last night? We returned to the station immediately. I went straight to the CCTV room. My hands were shaking. I played the footage from last night, the moment the man entered my office. But there was no one. The camera showed me, sitting alone, talking, responding, as if someone was in front of me. But there was no one. I checked the earlier footage. The first time he came, same thing. I was alone, talking to empty space. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe properly. That night, around 11 p.m., there was another knock on my door. My assistant said, "Sir, that man is here again." I stood still for a moment, then said, "Send him in." The door opened slowly, and he walked in. This time, he looked different. His eyes were red, not just red, burning, and there was a smell, a rotten, unbearable smell, filling the room. He stepped closer, slowly. "You let him go," he said. His voice was no longer calm. It was angry. I tried to stay firm. He promised to stop. I gave him a chance. The man tilted his head slightly, then said, "What if that body was someone you loved?" I couldn't answer. He leaned closer and whispered, "Justice must be done." Then suddenly, he turned and walked out. I rushed to the door, opened it. No one. I ran to the gate and called the guard. "Did you see him leave?" The guard looked confused. "See who, sir?" No one came in. My hands went cold. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed in my office. Lights on, gun on the table, Around 2:30 am, the same time as before, I heard something, a faint sound, scratching, coming from outside. Slow, dragging, scratching. I walked toward the window, carefully, and then I saw it. In the darkness, near the edge of the compound, something was moving. A figure, crawling, not walking, crawling, its body twisted, unnatural, like broken bones moving under skin. And then, it stopped. Slowly, it lifted its head and looked straight at me. Those eyes, empty, but glowing faintly red. It smiled, and then it started moving toward the building. My heart started pounding so hard, I could hear it in my ears. That thing was coming closer. Its movement was wrong, not human. Its arms bent in unnatural angles, its legs dragging behind, like it wasn't meant to walk anymore. I stepped back from the window. My hand slowly reached for my gun. The scratching sound got louder. Closer, closer. Then, silence. Complete silence. For a few seconds, everything stopped. No sound, no movement. I held my breath. Then suddenly, bang, something hit the main door downstairs. Hard, another hit. Bang, the entire building echoed. I rushed out of my office. 2 officers who were on night duty came running. "Sir, did you hear that?" "I did. Stay behind me," I said. We moved toward the main entrance. Step by step, slowly, the door was shaking, like something was hitting it from the outside. Bang, one more hit, then silence again. I signaled one officer to open it. He hesitated, but then unlocked the door. The door creaked open. Nothing, just darkness. Cold air rushed in. We stepped outside, flashlights on, scanning the area. Empty. But then, one officer whispered, "Sir, look at the ground." I pointed my light down. Marks, deep scratch marks on the concrete, like something sharp had been dragged across it. And the marks were leading away, toward the back of the compound. We followed them, slowly, carefully. The trail led us to the fence, but the fence was broken, not cut, not opened, bent, like something forced its way through. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. We didn't follow it further. Not that night. The next morning, I made a decision. I couldn't ignore this anymore. I went back to the graveyard. Alone. I don't know why, but I had a feeling he would be there. And I was right. He was standing near the same grave. The man, the one who came to my office. He didn't turn when I approached. He just stood there, looking down at the grave. I stopped a few feet away. "You're dead," I said. He smiled, slowly. "Now you understand." My throat went dry. "What do you want from me?" He turned his head slightly. "Justice." His voice echoed, like it was coming from somewhere deep. Not just his mouth. "They took what was not theirs," he continued. "They disturbed the dead." I clenched my fist. "They're criminals, I'll handle them." He shook his head. Slowly. "You already failed." A cold wind passed through me. "You let one go." I didn't answer. He stepped closer. And with every step, the air got colder. "Tonight," he said softly, "you will come again." I felt something pulling me. Not physically, but mentally. "You will see what they did." Before I could respond, he was gone. Just gone. That night, I returned. But this time, I didn't bring my team. I don't know why. It felt like this was something I had to face alone. The graveyard looked even darker than before. The air felt heavy. And then, I heard it again. Scratching. Not from outside, but from underground. Right beneath my feet, the scratching. It was coming from below. Right under the ground. I froze. Every instinct in my body told me to run. But I couldn't move. The sound grew louder. Scrape. Scratch. Scrape. Like something inside the grave was trying to get out. I slowly stepped back, my flashlight shaking in my hand. The soil in front of me started to move. At first, just a little. Then more. The dirt began to rise, as if something underneath was pushing upward. My breathing got heavier. And then, a hand, a pale, rotting hand, burst out of the ground. I stumbled back. Another hand came out. Then a head. The face, half decayed, skin hanging, eyes hollow, yet somehow alive. It pulled itself out of the grave. Slowly, painfully. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The corpse stood up, its body twisted, bones cracking, like they were breaking and resetting at the same time. Then it looked at me. Its mouth opened, and a dry, broken voice came out. "Why did you let him go?" My legs felt weak. Before I could react, more movement. The ground around me started shaking. Another grave, then another. Hands coming out, bodies rising, one by one. The dead were coming back, not running, not attacking, just standing, watching me, their empty eyes locked on me. And then, behind them, he appeared, the man, standing still, calm. "This," he said softly, "is what happens when justice is denied." I shook my head. This isn't real. But deep inside, I knew it was. "They feel everything," he continued. "Every cut, every fire, every violation." Images flashed in my mind. Bodies being cut, boiled, stripped. I dropped to my knees. "Stop this," I whispered. He stepped closer. "You will fix this." His voice was no longer asking. It was a command. "You will bring him back." I looked up. "And if I do?" Silence. Then he leaned closer and whispered, "Then you will stay here with them." The ground beneath me trembled again. The corpses started moving, slowly, closing in. I grabbed my gun, but my hands were shaking too much to aim. "Stop," I shouted. Everything froze. For a moment, complete silence. Then, I made my decision. "I'll bring him back." The man smiled. And just like that, everything disappeared. No corpses, no movement, just the graveyard. Silent, empty. I was alone again. But this time, I knew This wasn't over. I didn't wait for sunrise. The moment I got back to the station, I reopened the case. The man we caught, Ethan Cole, he was still in custody records, but I had released him. Big mistake. I pulled his file. Address, workplace, background. Everything led to one place, a medical supply facility on the edge of town. I grabbed my gear. No team, no backup. This was my responsibility. By the time I reached the facility, it was past midnight. The building looked abandoned. Broken windows, rusty gates, but inside, there was light. Dim, flickering. I pushed the door open. The smell hit me instantly. Rotten, burnt, like something had been cooked, and left to decay. I covered my nose and moved forward, step by step, deeper into the building. Then I heard it. Metal clanging. Someone was inside. I followed the sound until I reached a large room. And what I saw made my stomach turn. Tables, tools, bones, human bones. Some cleaned, some not. And in the center, a large metal drum. Boiling. I slowly walked closer. And then I saw him, Ethan, standing beside the drum. He turned slowly. "Sir," he said, like nothing was wrong. "You came alone." My voice was cold. "It's over, Ethan." He smiled. "No, sir, this is just the beginning." He picked up something from the table. A skull. "Do you know how much this is worth?" he said. I aimed my gun. "Put it down." He didn't listen. "These people are dead. They don't need this anymore." "They do," I said firmly. "They deserve rest." His face changed. "You let me go," he said. "You gave me a chance. And I'm taking it," he continued. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Once, twice, then darkness, complete darkness. I tightened my grip on the gun. Then, a whisper. Not Ethan. Something else. Too late. The lights came back on. Ethan was gone. The drum was shaking violently. The lid started moving. Clang, clang, clang. I stepped back. Then, the lid flew off. Something inside started rising. A shape covered in burned flesh. Bones visible. Skin melted. It climbed out. Slowly. Then another. And another. The room filled with them. Burned bodies. Half-formed skeletons. All looking at Ethan's direction. But he was gone. Then, they turned toward me. My heart stopped. But they didn't attack. They moved past me. Toward the hallway. Dragging. Crawling. Searching. I followed. The trail led to the back door. Open. And outside, in the darkness, I saw Ethan running. And behind him, those things, chasing, not fast, but unstoppable. Ethan screamed. He fell, tried to crawl, but it was too late. They reached him, and then they pulled him down into the darkness. His screams echoed. Then, silence. Everything stopped. The bodies disappeared, like they were never there. I stood there, frozen. Then, a voice behind me. You did what was needed. I turned. The man, standing there, calm again. Is it over? I asked. He looked at me, with those empty eyes. For them, yes. Then he stepped back and faded into the darkness. Gone. The next morning, the facility was empty. No bodies, no bones, no Ethan, nothing. The case was closed. Officially, missing person. But I know the truth. Some things don't need courts. They need justice. After that night, I tried to move on. Days passed, then weeks. Everything seemed normal again. Too normal. The reports were filed. The case was closed. Official statement. Ethan Cole missing. No suspects. No evidence. Just gone. But I knew the truth. Or at least, I thought I did. A month later, I was transferred to another state. New city. New station. New life. I told myself it was over. Until one night. It was around 2:30 a.m. The same time, I was sitting alone in my office, working, trying to ignore the silence. Then, a knock. My heart stopped. Slow, heavy, knock, knock, knock. I didn't move. For a moment, I just stared at the door. Then I said, "Come in." The door opened, and for a second, I hoped it was just a normal person. But it was. A man walked in. Different face, different body, but the same eyes. Empty, lifeless, cold. He stood there, staring at me. Then he spoke. "Sir," my hands started shaking. "Can you help me?" My throat went dry. "What's the problem?" I asked. He took a step forward. Graves are being disturbed. I felt the world spin around me. No, this can't be happening again. "I don't do that anymore," I said quickly. He tilted his head, slowly, then smiled. A familiar, terrifying smile. Justice doesn't end. The lights flickered. The room got colder. And then, he leaned closer and whispered, "You were chosen." Suddenly, the lights went out. Complete darkness. I couldn't see anything, but I could feel it. Something standing right in front of me. Breathing. Cold. Rotten. Then, the lights came back, and I was alone. I ran to the door, opened it. The hallway was empty. I called the front desk. "Did anyone come in just now?" "No, sir." My hand slowly dropped. I turned back to my desk, and that's when I saw it. A file. I didn't put it there. It wasn't there before. Slowly, I opened it. Inside, photos, fresh graves, names, dates, and at the top, a note written in shaky handwriting. Tonight, I looked at the clock, 2:34 a.m. The same time. Every time, I closed the file, sat down, and for a long moment, I didn't move. Then, I picked up my gun and stood up, because deep down, I knew this was never over. It was just my turn.